Last time on Shadow Peace, the battle between the Iron Maiden Bronya of the Strawhat Pirates and Jesus Burgess, the now self-proclaimed strongest man in the world of the Blackbeard Pirates, heated up. Bronya desperately wanted to win, but with every attack a deeper sense of dread spread throughout her body. Meanwhile, Burgess just grew bigger and bigger with each attack. He in fact had felt so comfortable that he explained exactly how his devil fruit worked to the invader to their base. The champion was playing with his prey, slamming her left and right after picking her up by the ankle with no struggle at all. And only when he had enough, he chucked her with great force right into a nearby mountain. His confidence was earned. He could back up all of his trash talk and his claims, which made him even more dangerous. "I am walking slowly towards you." He described exactly what he was doing as he knew his opponent was covered in rubble at the moment. "Just a few more steps away from you. If you want to do something, you should do it now." There was no stopping him. As short of his own victory, he stopped before the spot he had thrown her at. For just a moment, he even considered that she had lost consciousness or simply given up, but that was a mistake. Bronya screamed so loud that you could feel her entire soul residing in that scream, as she had thrust her hands straight into the mountain she had collided with, and with pure, relentless force, ripped it out of the ground to use it as a hammer to crush her enemy. It was a desperate last struggle attempt to use nature itself to her advantage, as she had already accepted that she was outmatched when it came to strength alone. That action even took Burgess by surprise, but just like always, he had no intention of even attempting to dodge. He simply stood there, ready to take the full damage with a wide smile on his face. He was a man that didn't fear death. Rather, death feared him, as he had been on the brink of it so many times that he was already a close acquaintance with the Grim Reaper. "Bring it on, giant beauty. Smash that mountain as hard onto me as you can, before I smash you as hard as I want." And that she exactly did. Bronya's scream tore through the stormy air as she swung the mountain down with both hands, veins bulging in her arms, her back bending under the titanic weight she forced into motion. For a heartbeat, time seemed too slow. The impossible sight of a woman wielding an entire mountain like a weapon froze the battlefield around them. The clouds above split with a thunderous crack, as if the heavens themselves recoiled from the strike about to land. Then it came crashing down. The impact was cataclysmic. Stone met flesh, and earth with a detonation louder than cannon fire, louder than the scream of a mythical beast on the hunt. The mountain slammed into Burgess with such force that the ground beneath them fractured outward in concentric waves, shattering into colossal fissures that swallowed trees and tore apart the coastline. Jagged spikes of rock shot skyward as entire cliffs collapsed into the ocean, sending waves surging for miles. The sheer weight of the strike flattened everything in its radius. Structures crumbled into dust, iron beams snapped like twigs, and the air itself seemed to ripple with the violence of the blow. Dust and smoke erupted in a choking pillar that blotted out the sky, a mushroom cloud of pulverized earth and stone. Pirates from both sides, watching from a safe distance, were forced to shield their eyes and bodies, the blast sending chunks of debris whistling through the air like cannonballs. Many of them got completely knocked out by the collateral damage alone. Bronya roared as she pressed all her weight into the strike, her muscles screaming, refusing to relent until the mountain shattered across Burgess's frame. The cracks spread across the boulder like spider webs, each fissure glowing faintly as friction and sheer impact turned the rock molten at the edges. Finally, with one last guttural cry, the mountain burst apart, exploding into an avalanche of debris that buried Burgess beneath millions of tons of rubble. The battlefield went still, save for the endless rain of stone fragments and the thunderous echo rolling across the entire island. Bronya's chest heaved, her hands bleeding, her body trembling violently from the strain. She had poured everything she had into that single strike, her rage, her desperation, her will to fight against the inevitable. Before her lay a crater, so deep and vast, it seemed to scour the very island. Smoke and dust poured from the abyss, the air shimmering from the sheer heat of the impact. For anyone else, that attack would have been absolute annihilation. The kind of blow that ended wars, crushed fleets, and shattered fortresses. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, the rubble shifted. "We There it was again, the laugh she had grown all too familiar with in this battle. "No way," was all she could bring out in a strained and huffing voice. "One way," Burgess responded with another laugh and statement that just sounded weird. There was only one way for a person to come out of this attack and be laughing about it, and that was for that person to be me, Jesus Burgess. That must have been the most arrogant thing Bronya had heard in all of her life. But the odd and weird part here was that she actually believed that statement. Once again, Burgess started approaching her with a casualness unbefitting for a battlefield, but he didn't care. As a wrestling champion, he was a showman, and that also meant ignoring the rules others usually saw as etiquette in a battle. The Thriller-Bark Pirate threw another punch with a giant arm against Burgess, but this time he acted differently. I gave you the chance to show what you were capable of. A counter-punch of his smashed against the metal and haki-covered fist of Bronya, but almost like her body was just a stick, the fist of the Titanic captain smashed through it, breaking all the bones in the hand. Morgan's guys from the World Economy newspaper must have gotten a lot of notes on your fighting power. That should help you in increasing your bounty, but I saw enough. The ground shattered as he jumped with all his force towards his opponent's middle. You did make me stronger, but you also have reached your limit, so I will just end this now. As his fist connected with the stomach, ribs shattered and internal organs exploded under the pressure, and that was from the first impact alone. The force of the attack sent Bronya flying far away, through buildings, mountains, and finally she crashed down onto the ground. Her sudden crash had buried multiple pirates below her. Allies from the Fleet of Death were looking at her. For their morale, it wasn't good that one of the top combatants was just lying there, unmoving, bloodied, out of breath. Hurting everywhere, she had no secret plans to pull out anymore. This was her limit. So when she saw Burgess approaching her, ever so slowly, she was preparing for an untimely end. Just finish me, as a brave warrior from Elbaf. At least I can be proud that I have lost against a monster like you in a glorious battle. Her speech was filled with coughs, and it was weak in general. But the Blackbeard pirate had a question he wanted to ask first, before he would fulfill her wish. So he spoke up. You can live if you want. He said as simple as that, and looked up at the giant beautiful body in front of him with a wicked smile on his face. All you need to do is become my wife, and give birth to my children. His dirty laugh carried through the island, and the offer was uttered. Bronya had a choice to make. Die as a proud warrior of Elbaf, or betray not only her home country, but also the trust of her new allies from the Thriller Bark, her new captain, new friends, and most importantly, her new best friend Perona she swore to rescue. So with that in mind, she actually only had one choice. Fuck you. With the last bit of her strength, she exclaimed a curse to the man in front of her. This was the path she had chosen. I'd rather die the most cruel and inhumane death than be your partner. Now, just get this over with. Weakly, she pulled up her hand and showed him the middle finger, before her body grew slack and just collapsed back onto the ground. What a shame. You would have made a fine bride. Our children would have been a sight to behold. He jumped into the air and crossed his arms to form an X, as he was falling down at a rapid speed from far up in the sky towards Bronya's chest. Well, the least I can do is honor your wish to die by the hands of the strongest. So here's my all-out attack. Ultimate Cross Dive! She saw him coming down faster and faster, and then closed her eyes to find peace. But what she heard next wasn't the sound of all her bones shattering and feeling pain so immense she could only scream. Instead, a familiar voice rang in her ears. Levitain! And this is the end of today's episode of Shadow Piece. You're getting the cliffhanger! Next week, we're going to take a look at a different battle, not at a continuation of this Burgess fight here. So I hope you look forward to how this is going to turn out. Yeah, it is a bit sad, but Bronya did her best. She showed a lot of great deals and feats, but she just wasn't capable of defeating the legend, the man, the wrestling champion Jesus Burgess. So yeah, we are gonna continue in the next week. But for now, all that to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro out. Bye!